And yet, more people than ever are saying, I've never felt so alone. Let that land for a moment. Welcome to the show. I'm Suzie, life empowerment coach, relationship expert, and your grounded voice of truth in a very noisy, fast moving world. And if love has been feeling heavier than hopeful lately, if dating or even meeting others feels more exhausting than exciting, I want you to know you're not alone and you're not imagining it. Today, we're talking about something I call intimacy inflation. It's this strange modern paradox where access to others has exploded, but emotional connection feels much, much rarer. Where dating apps and social media opportunities seem endless, depth and authenticity feel far away. We're constantly connected, yet quietly starving for presence and real, genuine emotional intimacy with others. So if you've been feeling burnt out, disconnected, or quietly wondering, is it just me? Am I asking for too much? Let me say this gently and clearly. It's not you. It's the system. It's the culture. It's the pace of modern dating that prioritizes options over intention and speed over substance. And here's the truth I want you to carry into this episode. There's nothing wrong with wanting a real connection with anyone. There's nothing unrealistic about craving depth, consistency, and emotional safety. And there is a way back to grounded, meaningful intimacy without exhausting yourself, without lowering your standards, and without completely giving up or hardening your heart. By the end of this episode, you'll see modern dating and your role in it in a completely new way. Welcome to Signals and Standards with Suzie, where we decode mixed messages, elevate your standards, and deliver practical insights that you can act on. I'm your empowerment coach, Suzie, here to guide you from confusion to clarity, helping you reclaim your power and create the relationships and life you deserve. We're living in a culture that treats dating like fast fashion. Swipe, try on, discard, repeat. New season, new faces, new options. But intimacy doesn't work like a clearance rack. You don't stumble into depth. You don't rush safety. You don't mass produce emotional connection. Intimacy is slow. It's layered. It's built through consistency, emotional safety, mutual curiosity, and sustained presence. When a culture prioritizes speed, novelty, and constant stimulation, intimacy becomes one of the first casualties. That is what intimacy inflation is. Just like economic inflation makes money feel less valuable, intimacy inflation makes connections feel diluted. There's more availability, but less substance. More access, but fewer people willing or able to show up emotionally. Psychologists note that more people are gravitating towards slow, quiet dating, as we discussed in last week's episode, as well as intentionality and stronger enforced boundaries. Not because it's trendy, but because people are tired. Dating fatigue is real. Emotional burnout is real. And it doesn't come from wanting love too much. It comes from repeatedly trying to build depth in environments that were never designed to support it. Cultural pressure, financial stress, constant comparison, and an always-on digital world have created a dating landscape where people are overwhelmed and quietly craving peace more than sparks. That shift towards slower, calmer connections isn't a retreat from love, in my opinion. In fact, it's a return to sanity. Think about it like this. You wouldn't expect to grow a thriving garden in concrete, right? You wouldn't blame the seed for falling in soil that was never meant for it to begin with. but we keep expecting deep intimacy to develop in systems built for speed and endless replacement. No wonder so many people feel stuck in cycles of almost relationships or situationships. No wonder so many connections start hot and fade fast. The environment itself is hostile to depth. They never had a chance. Another layer of intimacy inflation is choice overload. Research shows that both scarcity and abundance of dating options can negatively impact mental health. Too few options can create hopelessness and fear. Too many options can create anxiety, indecision, and also chronic dissatisfaction. In other words, more choice doesn't automatically generate better outcomes. It often creates paralysis. It creates the illusion that something better is always one swipe away, which quietly erodes our ability to invest in what's right in front of us. This is why so many people feel perpetually almost connected, but rarely anchored. You're talking to multiple people. You're matching. You're messaging. You're having conversations, but you're not landing anywhere emotionally. Not because you're incapable of connection, not because you're broken, but because sustained emotional focus has become a scarce resource, and scarcity changes how we behave. Scarcity principle, as outlined in Psychology Today, explains that when something feels scarce, our brains tend to assign it greater value, even if it isn't actually healthy. This is why emotionally unavailable people can feel intoxicating. They're almost craveable. They're inconsistent, hard to reach, hot and cold, and the nervous system interprets that unpredictability as excitement, even though it's actually dysregulation. Scarcity doesn't equal compatibility. Scarcity doesn't equal depth. Scarcity doesn't equal love. It equals activation. Layer on top of that dating app obsession and validation seeking. Many people are unconsciously using apps to soothe insecurity, boost their self-worth, or chase micro hits of validation. Not because they're shallow, not because they're manipulative, but because they're human and trying to regulate their emotions in a world that rarely teaches us how. The result? Many connections that appear busy on the surface but feel empty underneath. They lack the depth required to forge anything real. I've long said that emotional intelligence is no longer optional in modern dating. It's essential. Because without emotional intelligence, we mistake anxiety for chemistry. We mistake intensity for intimacy, attention for connection. Emotional intelligence teaches us to slow down, to notice patterns, to communicate our needs, and regulate our nervous systems rather than outsourcing that regulation to others. Real intimacy, it's not loud. It doesn't spike your nervous system. It doesn't keep you guessing. Real intimacy feels steady. It feels safe. It feels grounding. It feels like exhaling instead of bracing for impact. Another major contributor to intimacy inflation is digital distraction. Psychologists identify phubbing, basically ignoring someone while you're on your phone, as one of the biggest threats to modern relationships. Let me say this plainly. You cannot build emotional intimacy with someone who is only half present. You cannot feel deeply seen by someone who is always elsewhere. Presence is the new foreplay. Presence is the latest romance. Presence is the new commitment signal. If someone can't put their phone down or slow their pace or even make space for emotional conversations, they're showing you where intimacy ranks in their life. And it's okay to believe what people show you. One of my favorite quotes by Maya Angelou is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. This powerful statement emphasizes the importance of recognizing and accepting people's true nature when it's revealed. rather than expecting them to change. One of the most important things missing in modern dating, and something I wrote about years ago, is reciprocity, mutual effort, mutual curiosity, mutual emotional availability. Not chasing, not convincing, not over functioning, just two people choosing each other in real time. That shouldn't feel revolutionary, but in today's dating climate, it often does. The instant gratification culture has also deeply reshaped expectations. We're used to instant delivery, instant replies, instant dopamine. But intimacy doesn't download, it develops. It grows through shared experiences, emotional risk, patience, and time. When people expect immediate emotional payoff, they often abandon connections before depth can develop. This creates a cycle of shallow starts and abrupt endings, over and over and over again. No wonder people feel disconnected. No wonder dating feels harder. No wonder so many people secretly wonder if something is wrong with them. And here's the anchor I want you to hold on to. The Harvard Study of Adult Development, one of the longest running studies on happiness and health, consistently shows that relationship quality is the strongest predictor of long-term well-being. Not wealth, not status, not productivity. Connection. Which means intimacy isn't a luxury, it's a biological need. So if you've been facing and feeling the ache of disconnection, that doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means your system is wise enough to want more. And that is something to honor. So let's bring this to life with today's coaching moment. Shaped by decades in the dating and relationship space, the thoughtful messages that land in my inbox, and the honest conversations that happen behind the scenes. Also, the patterns I've watched repeat themselves again and again and again over the years. And just as a gentle reminder, if something in this episode stirs a question for you or brings something up in your own heart, you can always reach out to me at powercoachsuzie.com. I read every message, I sit with them, and so many of these episodes are born directly from what you share. Today's question is simple, honest, and incredibly common. Why do I keep attracting people who seem interested at first, but then pull away? If you've ever found yourself asking this, I want you to take a breath with me for a moment, because this question doesn't come from being broken. It comes from being self-aware. It comes from wanting a real connection. And that already says a lot about the kind of partner that you are. What I often see in situations like this is that this is a mismatch between emotional capacity and worth. Emotional available people tend to lead with openness, warm curiosity, and depth. Emotionally unavailable people, they're often drawn to that energy, unfortunately, but they don't necessarily have the tools, nervous system capacity, or readiness to sustain it. So the connection starts strong, the spark feels real, and then intimacy begins to ask something of them. That's usually when the pulling away starts. Here's the reframe I want to offer you. Their withdrawal is not proof that you did something wrong. It's information about what they're currently capable of. A decisive shift occurs when you stop trying to be more lovable to these people and start becoming more discerning. When you show your true self and you slow your pace, when you prioritize consistency over potential, and when you notice how someone shows up after the initial excitement wears off. Because chemistry can start a connection, but emotional consistency, it sustains it. I remember a season in my own life where I kept attracting charming, engaging, emotionally expressive people who slowly became less available the closer things got. And for a while, I internalized that. I wondered if I was too much or not enough. But the real breakthrough came when I asked myself a different question. What if I only invested in what is already investing back? Not what someone might become, not what I hope they grow into, but what they were consistently showing me in real time. Dating got a lot quieter after that. It got slower, less dramatic though, but it also was calmer. It was clearer, more peaceful. And peace, I've learned, is one of the most evident signs you're moving in the right direction. You're not here to convince someone to choose you. You're here to choose people who already know how to show up, who are capable of presence, consistency, and emotional availability. When you lead with self-respect, clear boundaries, confidence, and steady standards, the wrong people don't disappear overnight. But they do lose access to your time, your energy, and ultimately your heart. And believe me, that's not a loss. That's alignment. Alignment with your values, your worth, and the kind of connection that actually nourishes you. Every choice like this is a step towards relationships that feel safe. They're mutual, they're built on a solid foundation, and they're deeply satisfying. The ones you've been waiting for all along. Here's something you can use this week to help you. Repeat after me. I choose real connection. I choose real connection. I choose real connection. This affirmation is gentle but powerful reorientation of your inner compass. It shifts you out of chasing intensity, chasing that novelty or validation, and back to honoring depth, consistency, and your own emotional safety. Every time you say it, you're reminding yourself that connection isn't something you have to earn through overgiving or proving or shrinking. It's something that you're worthy of simply by being you. Use this affirmation as a pause point. I choose real connection. Say it when you feel tempted to settle for mixed signals. I choose real connection. Say it when loneliness whispers that almost is better than nothing. I choose real connection. Say it when you're tempted to ignore red flags because you don't want to start over. I choose real connection. Say it when you're feeling desperate and hopeless. I choose real connection. Each time you repeat it, you're teaching your nervous system a new truth. Real connection feels calm, steady, and mutual. It doesn't leave you guessing. It doesn't require you to abandon yourself. And the more you choose real connection internally, the more naturally you begin to find it externally as well. This isn't about perfection. It's about practice. And every small choice towards real connection adds up. Intimacy inflation isn't a personal failure. It's a reflection of a culture built for speed, choice overload, and constant distraction. But that doesn't mean you have to participate in the parts of modern dating that leave you drained, that make you anxious, make you feel disconnected. You get to slow down. You get to set boundaries. You get to invest in people who show up consistently, who communicate openly, and meet you where you are emotionally. Each time you choose intention over impulse, depth over drama, and presence over performance, you're creating space for the kind of connection that's steady, connection that's nourishing, a connection that's real. Remember, you're not asking for too much. You're asking the right people, and that makes all the difference in the world. Thank you for being here and stepping into your power with me today. I look forward to seeing you next week for another empowering conversation. You can catch these episodes and shorter Power Shot bonuses anytime on my podcast, Signals and Standards with Suzie, available on all your favorite listening platforms. And if something today in this episode sparked a question, a reflection, or you want to dive deeper into building real connections and emotional clarity in your life, visit me at powercoachsuzie.com. I read every message, and I love supporting you on your journey. Until next time. For daily inspiration and practical advice, find me on social media at Power Coach Suzie. Got questions or ideas for the show? Head to powercoachsuzie.com where you can connect with me, explore the blog, or learn more about what I do. This is Suzie signing off. Until next time, keep reading the signals and never, ever lower your standards.